everybody. This is Teen Title Talk with Erin
and Courtney.
This is the podcast
where two librarians discuss two YA books every 2 weeks.
Today we'll be talking about the books You Owe Me a Murder by Eileen Cook. And what did Cook?
It's one of those days.
And what did you read, Courtney?
If You're Out There by Katy Loutzenhiser.
But before we do that, we should get in touch with our teen self. So we have a couple questions from the Jar of Teen Angst.
Jar.
Did you ever have detention or have to stay after? And why?
I did.
How many times? So many?
Not so many. A few. Probably like 5 or 6.
What was the... Tell me.
Usually is like talking.
What?
I know. My very first one... No, that was a demerit. My very first demerit, because they had demerits in middle school.
Uh-huh.
I was very proud of it.
Oh, gotcha.
Because I felt like it made me cooler. And it was because I forgot my assignment notebook in my locker.
You're pretty tough.
So that's not at all a great reason to get married. That's stupid. But I guess I was irresponsible.
Wow.
So my friend Anne laminated it for me, and I put a magnet on it and stuck it in my locker.
Good.
Because I felt like, oh, yeah. But
I'm such a ass.
I'm not, though. So, like, a true BA person would not do that.
Right.
But, no, but I had detentions. Usually it was for, like talking while other people are talking kind of thing. Like, shut up already. And I would just keep talking because I can't
they told
be
you
stopped.
already to be quiet and you were still going.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But there was one time that I was chewing gum.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Downey, this was in 10th grade, Mr. Downey was like, hey, you're chewing kibble in my class. Because he was like Texan or something.
What's kibble? Dog food?
Yeah. He called it kibble, but it was gum.
Okay.
And one of his, so he was an earth science teacher.
Sure.
Oh, so it was 9th grade.
Yeah.
He was an earth science teacher. And one of his like punishments, he had all these rocks up on the counter.
Sure.
And you had to hold a rock above your head for like 10 minutes. If you did something wrong. But instead, to go to the bathroom, he would also make you, like before you could go, you had to take a rock as a hall pass, but you had to identify the rock. So he would be like, igneous whatever.
Right.
And you would be like, in
order to just leave the room.
In order to go. But anyway, so he said, you're chewing kibble in my class. Go put your name up on the board. Because you had to put your own name up on the board for detention.
Very strict. Okay.
And so I was like, okay. So I went up and I was like, oh no, my mom's going to kill me. She's going to have to come pick me up because detention only kept you basically until the buses left.
Oh. Okay.
And then you were just like, you had to stick around until either the late bus came or someone has to come pick you up.
You got to get
so
in more
it was
trouble
like,
just hanging
detention
around.
was usually just like straightening desks.
Okay.
That kind of
for like 15 minutes?
Yes.
Oh,
just
okay.
long enough for you to mess up your
much
life.
Longer. Okay.
I mean, you could get Saturday detention, which was like all morning.
That was a big deal. Yeah.
I never got that.
No.
Well, anyway, I didn't get this detention because at the end of the day, I walked by the board and I just brushed my name off with my elbow.
Whoa.
Yeah, he didn't know because he had so many names up there every single day. He had no idea.
It's just the full class list is up there. That's pretty bad.
Anyway, I was pretty proud of myself. And I
am
was
proud
like,
of you too.
Guess what? Everyone I know. I was supposed to have a detention, but I didn't.
I love it.
Anyway, did you have detention?
I not much. No, we didn't. Our detention was after school. It was a serious business. It was like a full hour.
I imagine some teachers it was, but I think some people just wanted to mess with you.
I think so. But I had detention for senior skip day. They warned us, if anybody does skip, you will have detention. And I did skip.
You gotta skip on senior skip day.
What else? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one, no, I had to stay after because my friend Billy, sorry, Billy, we all know you. It's all right. Doesn't matter. We're just going to go with Billy. He pulled the chemistry key out of the binder for the big exam. Like, he had to check his note, so she gave him the whole binder, and he laid his paper on the key and slowly pulled it out one ring at a time so that he then had the answer key and dispersed it throughout the whole class. Whoever wanted it, I guess.
And you got a detention for that?
No, so stayed after because I got it, but apparently didn't even memorize anything well enough. And still, she's like, actually, I'm keeping you after, not because you took the key, but because you still failed the chemistry test. So I thought you'd want to take it again. So I was like, oh, okay, great.
Well, I guess she was giving you another chance.
Yeah, that was nice. We never gave her the credit she deserved. She was actually a really, really nice person, and we were brutal to her. We were brutal. Brutal. So that one was I got yelled at often, but, you know, for talking. One time I had like a screaming match. Well, I was talking, he was screaming. The teacher was screaming at me.
Ooh.
And I was just like, okay. And he was like, is that clear? Still screaming. His face was bright red.
What did you do?
I talked.
See?
Or I didn't move my desk, maybe?
Yeah.
It was some obstinate thing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just even a little bit of.
He didn't give me attention, though. Detention.
He just screamed.
He just screamed, and I was like, crystal clear.
You know what? In his head, he was probably like, I should give this kid detention, but I've got a dentist appointment after work today.
That's probably what it was. And also, it was so great because then he needed like help in the theater for the lights. And I was like the only one who knew how to do it. So the next day, he's like, hi, can you? So I'd like to chat with you about the theater. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, let's just pretend that other thing never happened. Sure.
All right. What did your school offer for gym classes, and did you do well in them? Tell me all about
There was not
gym
like
class.
an offer. It was gym class.
Yeah,
there weren't
what?
options.
You didn't have different things?
No.
What'd you have?
Like, everyone, let's go to gym class. We went into a gym, and every week did a different activity.
Every week you did?
Yeah, there were units, and then there were units in gym.
What was your favorite unit?
What was? I remember I was so excited for the archery unit.
Do they have that?
Not anymore.
Someone must have got.
But when it came time for it to be like our time, so there's more than one gym class period, obviously. Right. So like kids in another gym class period messed it all up. And then it was raining. It was like one of those things like it just never worked out and I never got to do it. I was always pretty annoyed about that.
Yeah.
But what was my favorite one? I don't know. I pretty much hated gym.
See, okay. So you didn't think you were that good at. Did you do well in it? It's part of the question.
And do you know what? We had to take tests in gym.
Well,
written tests.
Yeah. How do you do the square dance properly?
No, we didn't do square dancing. That would have been fun.
What?
Oh, Vermont. No. We did like basketball, soccer, flag football.
Wow, okay.
Like dodgeball-y type stuff. So we played like Dr. Dodge and
Interesting.
things like that.
Badminton?
Did we play? We definitely did volleyball. I think we did badminton. That was a fun one.
I liked badminton.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
We had badminton.
Everyone can do that. We did tennis.
Tennis? I don't know if we did. I think we had badminton instead. But
and I got hit. Laura Battis. Hit
Where?
Me square in the
face
with a tennis ball. It was funny, but it did hurt.
What was it like when you got hit in the face? Because I got hit in the face with a cross ball.
It was like my life flashed before my eyes. Because you can see this, like, actually, I just read something about whether, is a tennis ball green or yellow?
It's green, I thought.
In my mind,
like fluorescent green.
It's like fluorescent green, yes.
Yes.
But some people think it's yellow. Anyway, I just see this like fluorescent green ball like growing larger and larger and larger in my field of view.
Then it's hitting you.
And then it hits you.
Oh god.
And it's like you're stunned. You can't even move because it's like it's coming and you're just frozen.
But did you fall? Or did you like
No, I think I laughed. I don't know if I fell. I think I was like, oh, was my nose broken?
Oh, Courtney.
That was funny.
Brutal.
We
had choices. I don't know. I like juggling, or it was like
what? Stop it!
Juggling.
Stop.
You just get the scarves for like 45 minutes.
Circus gym.
And then we had archery and orienteering. Yeah, get the compass out. Gotta find your way.
Did you do that? We might have done that.
But badminton I liked. But lacrosse I got hit in the face, just like you.
We didn't do lacrosse.
I got hit in the face. It was from all the way across. Didn't see it coming. And it hit me, and it just sounded like the bleachers fell to the ground.
No.
Like I turned like, what?
Those are little balls,
I didn't feel.
aren't they?
No, they're huge.
Oh, they
They're
are?
same size as a tennis ball.
I don't know. Okay.
But harder.
Yeah,
So
I
it hit
had
me in
the
the side of the head. And it sounded like the bleachers fell. So I was like, I turned to see what. I couldn't feel it for a minute, and then I felt everything. It was weird. But in lacrosse, I had to stand in my own corner and hit it against the wall because I was so bad at throwing it.
Oh.
And that was sad. While they like did a skirmish, I was like against the wall, like.
Did you have to do the what's that thing called? The like president's assessment test, where like health assessment?
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Where we like
do you have to run a mile?
We would have to run a mile.
Yeah,
we had to like see how far you could go down with touching your toes and do like all these random like 1950s athletic
Jane Fonda workout or
right,
something.
like to make sure that you were like fit enough.
Gotcha.
The running a mile.
I'm sure we did that. I remember the running a mile. I didn't like that.
Hated it. I was always the last one.
I was always,
And people would be like, come on.
When I was younger, I told the gym teacher my legs went numb and I couldn't do it. But didn't work out in high school. They didn't believe me or something. They're like, no, you can do it. I'm like, no, my legs are completely numb.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even a race. I think it was like the goal was like, each child should be able to run a mile in under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, and then did they give you a demerit for that?
Like, no, it was all mostly just like pity. Like, look at that sad person all the way at the end.
Me
Come
too.
on, you still have a whole lap to go.
I'm sure Liz was at the front of the pack. I should ask her when I get back to the library.
You should ask her. I don't know.
All right, this one we're going to table for next time. It says, read me a page from your high school journal or diary.
Yeah, I didn't bring it.
That's okay, and I'm afraid. So
well,
let's just,
that's the other
we're going to table that one.
Okay.
So what did you read? You read the...
If you're out there?
Yeah, and I have not been able to remember that title from the beginning of looking it up. I don't know why.
I haven't either. I have to look at it every time.
I don't know what. There's something tricky about it. But it was, so tell us what it was about.
So it's really the story of a girl named Zan who has a super duper best friend named Priya.
Okay.
And
Priya, like the names.
Yeah, they were inseparable until one day Priya like drops off the face of the earth.
Okay.
And no one like thinks anything about it because she's supposedly in prep school in California now.
Oh, okay,
she's from
gotcha.
Chicago.
Like she moved or whatever.
She moved, but then but she never, like they were bestest of friends.
That's suspicious.
And like Zan is trying to email her and it's got all these emails to her and like there's either no response or like this weird little like one sentence response like I am happy now. so
okay, that's not good.
So at first Zan's really sad and then she gets really frustrated and angry like what did I do to deserve this?
Right.
We were best friends. What the heck? You're the worst.
Yeah.
And then that slowly transforms into maybe something's not right here.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
yikes.
Yeah, so things get a little mysterious, a little dark.
Okay.
But, yeah, fun.
All right, so You Owe Me a Murder, my book. It's about a girl named Kim, and she's taking a trip to London. I don't remember. It's not like a scholarship trip. It's just a big trip that kind of has to do with education and learning about the culture and all that stuff. So that's cool. The thing is, she just broke up with her boyfriend, Connor, before the trip. And guess what? He's going on the trip, too.
Of course.
So that's kind of a bummer. But then Kim, who's trying to avoid Connor on the plane, meets up with this girl named Nikki. And they hit it off. She seems really nice, this Nikki kid. And they start chatting about the things that are like the baggage in their lives. And so obviously for Kim, it's Connor. And for Nikki, it's her mom. And Nikki is like, haha, what if we both murder the other person, get him out of our lives? Like, you murder my mom and I'll murder Connor so that they can't connect it with anybody. And of course, Kim, being the nice girl she is, like, ha, good one. We never get away with that. And it's like, just obviously thinks that it's a joke. So then they land in London. It's a couple days in, and pretty soon Connor, while they're like out and about in the subway, gets thrown in front of, or falls in front of a train. So that investigation is open, but Connor's dead, and Kim thinks she saw Nikki around. So, yeah. Yeah. So then she finds out Nikki's not really the name of the person. I'm going to call her Nikki for the whole time we talk, just to be clear. And then Nikki sends her a note that's like, hey, you owe me a murder. And Kim is kind of like, oh, okay, I'm not doing that. But then she realizes she kind of is tied to Connor as like the one that has bad blood with him. And if she tells the police about the situation, she's worried that she's going to be pegged as like a person who would try to dispose of Connor and is making up a story and all that stuff. So yeah, so she has to like toe the line. Is she gonna murder the mom, or is she gonna risk possibly becoming a victim herself if this girl is truly dangerous? Who knows? Yeah.
Wow.
It was interesting. But let's talk about yours first. So I have a couple questions. If you're out there.
Yep. That's what it's called.
What made you choose this particular book? We talked about suspense. And then we were each choosing ours. Last time you hadn't chosen it. And then you found it. So what made you choose this one?
So actually, I had a hard time finding anything for suspense.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Me too.
It took me like full-on days to locate a book that fit all of the criteria. Because our criteria for the show is it's going to be at a library so I can read it. And it has to sort of like fit the genre. And we try to read recent.
Right. Something fairly recent. Yeah.
So I'm like looking through all these book lists. I found one on Goodreads. Yes. And I'm like just going through like, do we have this one? Do we have this one? Do we have this one?
Right.
And whatever's on Goodreads is not always
in at the library at all necessarily.
We might not even own it.
Right.
But also like it might not even be that genre that they say it's. So you still have to do like a little bit of research about it. So it was actually kind of tough to find one that fit all three of those.
So you're saying it's the only one that you could find?
Kind of is what I'm saying.
Fit all the criteria.
It was the first one that met the criteria. Okay. There were probably others.
Gotcha.
I'm glad I ended up with it because I've been enjoying it. But yeah, I would say it's like, I don't know, for some reason suspense.
I had a hard time finding suspense too. This was the only one that came up as suspense for me.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it fulfills the promise of the genre.
Okay.
Excuse me. Which is, that there's a build-up, involves lots of little build-ups. You think it's going to lead somewhere. There's a dead end.
Right.
It has all that stuff in it. And every time it happens, you are a little bit closer to finding out what the truth is. And it keeps you reading. You want to know what's going to happen.
You're kind of turning the page.
So it definitely, I would say, is a suspense.
Okay.
It's a little detective-y kind of mystery. Zan kind of goes undercover a couple of times to like pretend to be somebody calling at all these various prep schools to even see if Priya is a student at any of them.
Okay, gotcha.
Because she has her doubts. And they call the stepdad. And so it's like, so they're doing some of their own detective work. But it's definitely not like super action thriller, whatever. Okay. It's more just kind of like, we're going to school, we're doing our thing.
Gotcha, okay.
And also like, what's up with Priya?
So that kind of answers my second question, because I had, what level of suspense did you encounter? 10 being threat level midnight, 1 being threat level midday sunny in a field of daisies. What? You're saying it's like a 6?
Yeah, maybe like a 5, maybe a 6. It's definitely somewhere in the middle.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a little love story.
Okay.
That's happening at the same time as Zan and this new kid named Logan.
Okay, gotcha.
He has his own mysterious past that comes to light, and it's like kind of sad, but there's like a redemptive quality to it.
Okay, gotcha.
But all of her other friends who are nowhere near as close to her as Priya was are like, why are you chronically dateless? Like that kind of thing. And so she's like, I don't know. And everyone's like, ooh, Logan. And she's like, whatever, we're just friends.
Oh, gotcha.
But their friendship is blossoming over this shared excitement about this detective problem.
Gotcha.
Like trying to figure this thing out. And he never even met Priya before.
Interesting.
But he is
it's a
connecting
puzzle to work
with this
on. Yeah, interesting.
Puzzle. So you definitely, they're building their friendship. They're solving the mystery. It's a slow burn, but it's effective.
Okay.
You're never bored. The story keeps moving.
Uh-huh.
You want to find the next clue. And the other, like, supporting characters are pretty fun. Like her boss at work is also like into improv, and so they like go to one of his improv shows, or like her mom and dad are divorced, and her mom is recently like super involved with her own romantic relationship.
Okay.
Her girlfriend just moved in. So there's a lot of like other stuff going on, and everyone's really cool.
Interesting.
So it's nice.
Okay. So remember how we talked about how you used to hang out in the library and try to dig up stuff on your teachers in old yearbooks?
Yes.
And you kind of like genealogy questions and digging through old newspapers.
Oh, isn't that fun?
So would you say you're a sucker for clues and mysteries? You like that kind of thing?
I guess I'm always like, I hate mysteries, but actually they are fun. This is like, I like this kind.
So do you think, because you like, and you kind of like digging through them, do you think that, were there clues that you knew before the main character knew them? Or was the mystery really solid?
Well, you definitely get like, I guess like primary sources.
Okay.
In a way, like
articles or texts.
You get to read like texts, emails, and you see everything about the email, like the person's email address.
Okay.
And those change sometimes.
Yeah.
You get to see like what's in the subject heading and all that stuff. So those are all clues that are leading you somewhere. And so there are things that you might catch that the main character is not catching, which is kind of cool and fun.
That is fun.
And frustrating, but like that's what makes it fun. And I think that that's cool of the author to like allow you to do that, to follow along and be like, okay, what really is happening here?
I gotcha.
So,
I mean, that's nice.
Yeah.
I like having to be able to solve the mystery while I'm going. I just sometimes hate it if they're missing something really obvious. You know?
Yeah.
That drives me a little crazy.
Well, like there was one thing, there's an email, and it's from Priya, but the email address has changed to be like the family email address rather than her own personal email address.
Gotcha.
And like, I noticed it right away, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait. What's happening? Priya, you're calling for help. This is a code. And, like maybe a chapter later, Zan is like, but that email she was writing from. And I was like, I knew it was a thing. I knew it was weird.
But that's good, because then you toes the line. You're like, you have the question, and then you find out if you're right. It's always fun.
Yes.
What would you give as a read-alike for this title?
I just read recently The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn, and that's not a YA.
Okay. But
it, I think, works as a read-alike.
Okay.
I definitely think it's appropriate for teens to read,
gotcha.
especially older teens. It's the same type of suspense with like snippets of clues. You're seeing things from only one perspective. You're slowly uncovering character biases. Okay. I think If You're Out There would be a really fun book for somebody who likes Hitchcock movies.
Okay, nice.
You know, so is that kind of like, I don't want to say like old-fashioned suspense, but it's like suspense in the truest sense of the word.
Right.
Where it's not just like, and someone's hovering over you with a dagger type of thing. It's like, you're really thinking about like, wait, like, is this character even someone I can, like, is
it a red herring?
Right. Like, is the view I'm reading through someone I can even trust?
Yeah.
To know everything, or is
you're questioning everything?
Exactly. So it's kind of fun in that way.
Okay, cool. Sounds really good.
Yes, but let's talk about yours, which sounds very...
It was interesting.
I really want to know what happens in the end.
I can't tell you because it's too spoilery.
I guess I have to read it.
Because there was a twist, and I was like, whoa, actually, I didn't see that coming.
All right, so You Owe Me a Murder sounds extremely sinister, but also fun.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a sense of the tone? Is it dark, funny, darkly funny? Serious?
Like, it's really hard to peg. So it's not super dark. I mean, sure, someone gets murdered right away. So that, and it's all about murder, but it doesn't really feel that dark because the main character's nice and very likable and interesting and quirky, has a good sense of humor, and you're seeing it through her point of view. So it's not funny, but it's also not super dark.
Okay.
There were ominous moments, obviously, but in general, it was not grisly.
They don't like go into detail about when he gets hit by the train.
No, there was one that was visceral about like a bunny who got hit by a car and its guts were out, and I was like, I don't want to pick your little bunny's guts out. But that had nothing. That was just a side.
That was just to set a little gory tone.
I guess so. I was just like, okay. So yeah, it's hard for me to peg the tone.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Sometimes they defy.
Yeah.
Speaking of defying expectations and genres, so it seems more thriller-y, like high-stakes suspense, I guess you would say.
Yes.
Did you find yourself on the edge of your seat? Are you happy calling it suspense?
That's so hard. So I found it very readable. I flew through it. It was not one where I was like, oh, I should pick that book up again. So that means the pacing was going really well, right? I had questions about the girl who was trying to manipulate the main character, Nikki. I was really she's interesting. I wanted to know what happened, why she was like the way she was.
What made you want to make this strange murder wager with me?
But with suspense, meaning like suspense in all caps, I feel like there's a sense of imminent danger or dread around every corner or like constant puzzles to solve, right? I didn't feel like that was the case with this one. The murdery girl, Nikki, didn't strike me as that dangerous, despite her willingness to murder. I was like, I felt like Kim could take her in hand-to-hand combat. I wasn't worried about it.
Oh, okay.
I certainly...
Not a worthy opponent.
Well, I don't know. She was crazy, but I was like, okay. There was a scene, she
wasn't, like, brilliant crazy. One of those, like...
She was smart, but she wasn't, I don't know. It just didn't feel that dangerous.
Right, that's fine.
But it definitely had enough potential danger to keep me interested. It felt like a thriller in the way like R.L. Stein's Fear Street is a thriller, but more character depth.
That's good, because remember that time I read one of those and it was so disappointing. I was
thinking of you, I know. Like, I didn't really connect.
I gotcha. Yeah. So sometimes murder stuff can make us like start to cheer for the bad guy in a way. So like, you're obviously not on Team Nikki.
No, I didn't like her.
But like, there's a fascination with true crime right now.
Yes.
And there are all these like anti-heroes on TV, like Walter White or whatever. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I'm sure there's people on Game of Thrones who are like evil, but you want them to win somehow.
Right, I'm sure. I only got like
I can't watch. It's too much for me. I can't do it. But I'm wondering if the way this is structured is kind of like that. Like, do you end up kind of hoping that Kim commits murder, as weird as that sounds?
No.
Or is it like, no, Kim!
Don't do it! No, the entire time, actually, I was like, Kim, just tell the cops the situation and it will just be over and you will be fine. I know, we are so boring. They'll totally believe it. They'll put the clues together. I was very annoyed. But obviously you have to suspend your disbelief to get into these stories. And I was very much on Kim, don't commit murder, because she was supposed to commit murder against this innocent woman.
Was she thinking about it?
A little bit, but yeah, a little bit. But here's the thing. At one point, I was like, maybe she'll murder Nikki. And I was delighted by that idea. I was like, just get this lady out of your life. There was one point where she punched her in the face, and I was just like, that's delightful. Thank you for punching her in the face.
All right.
I wanted her to get clobbered.
Proof that she could have taken Nikki if she wanted to.
And I would have been cheering for her the whole way.
Wow.
Don't let this lady manipulate you. Destroy her. That's what.
Are they both teens?
Yeah. Sorry, little girl.
No, I'm just curious. I know. Well, whatever. I've read that it's a modern twist on another book, Strangers on a Train. So I've never read that one, but I have heard of it. It's by Patricia Highsmith.
Okay.
Have you ever read that?
No.
No. Do you think you would like to? Or do you even think there is a value in comparing books that draw inspiration from other
I kind of think
works?
I'd like to read it because I want to know what the differences are. Like, if it took inspiration, was it, I don't know, was it grown-ups versus this one is teens? Was it the circumstance?
Right.
What was the scenario for the other one?
It is kind of fun to think about things in that way.
Yeah. I think I'd give it a shot.
Cool. Okay, so my last question is
yes.
About an issue I have.
Okay, tell me.
So on Amazon, if you look this book up,
yes,
you'll see the also purchase book suggestions. on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 4 suggestions. 3 of those suggestions all have women or girls with missing faces on them. And it's all like, I don't know.
Bothersome?
Yes, I'm getting this, like, I don't know. Last year I was annoyed about, like, beautiful dead girls, and this year I'm annoyed about faceless girls.
Well, yeah.
What is happening? Like,
where
where are girls
they?
going? I don't
getting
like this.
murdered?
So I'm getting a weird vibe, I guess. So this book is about girls who do murdering.
Right.
Which in a way is a nice switch from being murdered. But I'm just wondering if you find this book to be empowering, or if it ultimately proves that we're just like all unwitting pawns in a man's world.
I did not get that sense of being unwitting pawns in a man's world in this particular case. But I hear you on the book jackets being faceless, and that irritates the hell out of me. I'm in general not in favor of missing girl stories. I get really freaked out by them, and especially if it's for a thrill. That's the thing. If it's like, oh my gosh, this is a really sad story that's realistic, I would read it because that would be something where I would be concerned, and maybe this is getting us somewhere. But if it's like, ooh, a girl is like kidnapped by some creep, and it's for a thrill, I don't, no thanks, not into it. And that's what I feel like that cover usually is. So that freaks me out. This was totally not that. Okay. This book, it was very girl centric, and motivation for Nikki to do the murdering did have a dude involved in it. But he was very much sidelined. I
kind of want to read this because I'm like, what is Nikki's motivation?
I can't tell you because that is the twist.
She hates her mother.
Right.
So the mother does something, or maybe doesn't.
Or not.
We don't know.
You don't know. You find out some things along the way.
Oof, yeah.
One thing that I think is really cool is I really liked all the characters in the book. I thought the girls were well drawn. They had interesting backstories. I really liked Kim. There was a great boyfriend who was a new boyfriend named Alex. He was this geeky guy who was just fun. And the toxic guy, Connor, gets pushed in front of a train.
Oh, so
I'm like, that's great.
He did suck?
Yeah. And that's why she was like, oh, because he really did suck.
Yeah,
so
he's not even that sad when he
no, you're all right. I'm like, okay, he got dumped. That's great. Glad he's out of the way. He's kind of...
Okay, I was wondering about that.
He was like mad that she won an award that he also was in.
Oh, gross.
And she gave it up for him. I know. So you're set up to already disliking that guy.
Okay, I gotcha.
So definitely not the same vibe as whatever those read-alikes were. I would totally disregard those read-alikes on Amazon's algorithm is sometimes a little funny.
Yeah, maybe it just looks like cover art because your cover is like a bunch of people.
Or whatever category it was in, and maybe some of those thrillers are that way, so they put it in with that one.
Yeah.
But, all right.
Well, let's talk about thank you, and let's talk about what's coming up next.
All right. I'm thinking beach reads for coming up because, hey, it's warm out and it's time for the beach. So whatever constitutes a beach read, I don't know exactly, but I think of something engrossing, fast-paced, summery, maybe with a touch of travel or romance. Does that sound beach ready? Okay. Yeah. You can pick anything. Doesn't matter, just as long as you think it's a beach read.
Cool.
I'm going with one that really does fit that description of like a touch of romance, but also like a little bit of travel and in the summer. And it is Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins.
Oh, and I'm going to read If I'm Being Honest by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca.
Oh, an author team.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it's kind of like a reworking of The Taming of the Shrew.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I hate that story, but that's fine.
Well, we can talk about
that. Let's talk about that. All right. Remember, if you get a chance to answer our 2 questions, those are, did you ever have detention or have to stay after, and why? And what did your school offer for gym classes, and did you do well in them?
Sorry, I was supposed to read that one.
That's okay.
I was too busy drinking my tea. If you have any questions about reading recommendations or library life, please write to us at teentitletalk@gmail.com, and we'll read a few of our listener responses next time. Thank you for joining us for Teen Title Talk. This podcast is brought to you by the Derry Public Library and Derry-CAM, Derry Community Access Media, empowering independent voices. As always, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Google Play, and Player FM. Just search for Teen Title Talk. Don't forget to hit follow so you can hear the latest episode. Our theme was created and performed by Banded Starling. Until next time, bye.